If you have ever felt trapped in a loop where your relationships always end up badly in the same way, if you tell yourself this time will be different, but yet somehow the same thing happens again, this video is for you. And it's not random, it's not bad luck neither, and it's definitely not that all men or all women are the same. There is something in you that keeps repeating a story. And today we are going to unmask it. So please stay to the end, because I also going to give you practical tools so you can start using now. Let me tell you a story so we are grounded in something real. A while ago, a client told me that she felt embarrassed and upset because she didn't understand why she always landed with the same type of person. The start of the datings looked promising. There were 2 long and very easy dates. And then that continued with cute daily messages, also voice notes in the morning, and a plan for the Saturday market, and even dinner with his friends. He held her hand in public and booked the next date before the current one ended. She was super happy, After they slept together, he even checked in the next day to see how she was. And then things start to shift. Replies that used to come in minutes started to take hours. Plans became a little bit vague. She could see him active online, and yet her questions went unanswered. So a week later, there was silence. And she asked me, why on earth this keeps happening to me? So then I asked her the same thing I'm going to ask you. Do you really believe it's a coincidence? I remember that she cried and laughed at the same time, because once we slowed down and all felt painfully obvious. So I put my finger on the key point and asked her this. If in all your relationships you end up feeling the same, were all those people exactly alike? Or is there something in you that keeps choosing them? She froze because she had never considered that as an option, as normally is the case. And you know what? I want you to sit with the same question for a moment right now. So let me name what often drives this situation. The thing is, our brains are built to seek what is familiar, right? We get attached to what we learn first, even when what was familiar was hurting us. And I'm talking about our upbringing, our growing up. So if you grow up in a home where love was unpredictable, where you had to earn attention or you had to behave perfectly to feel loved or cared, your nervous system will be drawn to that rhythm. In adulthood, obviously, because it recognizes this pattern. So sometimes we think that that pull is chemistry, but actually many times it's not. It's normally, or in many occasions, it's a pattern that we are repeating. Some clients tell me, oh, but my parents were good. I had a decent relationship with them. And don't get me wrong, this is not about blaming your parents. It is about the way you related to them and whether they were emotionally present. So many of us never question this because it felt normal at the time, right? But the thing is that normal doesn't always mean healthy for our nervous system. And this is why doing therapy really helps, because seeing your own pattern by yourself can be very, very, very hard. Even myself as a therapist need a therapist. Clients often say that they have met someone who treats them well, but yet they don't feel the spark they had with our ex or with somebody they were dating. And then when I ask them to describe the ex or the person they felt the spark from before, they will describe them as unpredictable, on and off, loving 1 week, distant the next. Of course that felt exciting. Adrenaline feels exciting, right? So the real question is, did it do you any good? Did that ex that you felt the spark from, did it do you any good? So here is the tricky part. Our brain can confuse instability with attraction because we learn to link love with effort and uncertainty. And that is how we end up hooked on people who create anxiety rather than peace. And I see another twist also. When someone who is used to that roller coaster finally manages to sustain a relationship and the other person is clearly there without games, the attraction sometimes drops. Why? Because there's no longer the uncertainty that their nervous system is used to. So that deserves its own video. I will talk about that in another time. But for now, it's enough to notice that the dip is about our wiring rather than our worth. So let us go a little bit deeper into where this wiring begins. Imagine you grow up where love felt conditional. Good marks at school meant praise and affection. When you were struggling or your needs were too much, your parents perhaps withdraw, or perhaps neither of your parents were available and there was no close bond. Maybe you watch your parents do a dance where one person pursues and the other pull away. And without meaning to, your brain learn that loving means chasing, proving yourself, and earning connection. So when you meet someone who offers steady care without test, it seems boring. But not because it's actually boring, but because your nervous system does not recognize it as something that is normal. Yeah, so this does not only happen in romantic relationships. I'm sure you might notice the same pattern in friendships or even at work. Perhaps you feel undervalued yet, but you still stay, hoping for recognition. And that recognition never arrives. If the same feeling repeats, there is a good chance that the same pattern, the same template is running the show. So I will ask you to do a quick check. Think of the last few people you fancy. What do they have in common? Is it their personality? Is it the way they treat you? Is it the rhythm of the relationship? And most importantly, how do you end up feeling? If you keep arriving in the same emotional place, you're probably choosing the same internal place. The good news is you can change this, but first you need to learn how to identify it. So, here is a practical prompt. I want you to write down your answers to these questions. The first question is, what did love look like in your childhood? Another one is, did I have to work hard to feel love? Did I feel I had to perform to receive affection? I want you to try to be specific. Your answers will really help to tell a lot about you, about why certain people feel magnetic. So once you can see the pattern, you can start to choose differently. So let's talk about how. First, change the story you tell yourself about what love should feel like. Many of us have learned to chase intensity and to confuse intensity with depth. So I want you to try valuing emotional stability instead, and it doesn't have to be dull, okay? It is the ground that allows trust, play, and real intimacy to grow. So ask yourself this on a first or second date. Do I feel more at peace with this person or more on edge? If you are mostly on edge, you already have a very useful information there. Now, second, pay attention to your body at the start of a connection. The beginning is where your old pattern is loudest. So if you are flooded with anxiety and living on a diet of uncertainty, that is not love. That is familiarity dressed up as chemistry. And I want you to name it as such. Now say it loud. This is my anxiety, not a proof that this is special. Third thing, look for measurable green flags rather than chasing away red ones. So red flags in this pattern include hot and cold attention, vague plans, and you doing most of the emotional work. Green flags, on the other hand, include steady communication, clear plans that actually happen, and both of you feel that you can repair after a wobble. And by week 4, you should be able to name at least 2 green flags without bending your own rules. But if you cannot, take that as data rather than drama. Then, fourth, practice secure behaviors before you feel secure. So, many of us wait to feel safe before setting boundaries. But yet, boundaries are the practice that creates safety. So, I want you to choose one simple boundary and say it kindly. For example, I prefer calls to endless texting, please. I don't like texting, or I don't like endless texting, so please, let's do calls. Or, can we try a quick call this evening? Another one could be, for example, I want exclusivity before sex. Can we do that? Or, I would like to see you weekly if we keep dating. If that boundary sends the other person away, that is useful information. You have saved yourself months of guessing. Fifth, add novelty without chaos when things are stable and your attraction wobbles. The answer is not to create drama. The answer is to create freshness. Plan something new together. Share a part of your inner world that you normally hold back. You can ask a question that you had never asked and be curious about it. What else? You can also desire more space and oxygen without the emotional whiplash. I also want to speak about what often gets called attachment. Yeah, very famous nowadays. Everybody talks about attachment. So if you lean into the anxious attachment, you may scan for distance and overfunction to close the gap. Your opposite action is to slow down, ground yourself, and allow the other person to step forward. If you lean into avoiding attachment, you might pull back when someone gets close because closeness feels risky. So your opposite action is to share one feeling you will usually keep to yourself. Not everything, just one thing. Small opposite actions and repeated often, they can create new endings. Now, let us circle back to the story of my client so we can close the loop. So once that she saw the pattern clearly, she felt grief for the years she has spent trying to earn what she should have been given as a kid. That grief was healthy because it made room for something new. She started with tiny changes. She said no when she meant no. And she asked for clarity rather than decoding mixed messages. She chose men who were less theatrical and more available. And don't get me wrong, at first, her body missed the chaos because chaos had been her signal for aliveness, right? Then, slowly, she noticed a different feeling. Desire that did not rely on panic. Warmth that did not depend on achievement. Attraction that grew because she felt safe enough to expand. Before we finish, here is a quick self-check that you can use this week. I want you to ask yourself, do I feel mostly settled with this person or mostly on edge? Do their actions match their words over time? Am I shrinking to keep the peace, or do I feel spacious enough to be fully myself? If you are mostly on edge, if words and actions don't align, or if you are shrinking, then you have your answer. It's not a match for the person you are becoming. And here is a small homework prompt if you want it. Write a short paragraph called My Baseline for Ease. So in this baseline for ease, I want you to include 3 non-negotiables that support your nervous system. So for example, I need consistent contact. I need direct communication. I need warmth that does not depend on performance. And share it with a trusted friend. So when you meet someone new, read it before the date and again after the 3rd date. It's a very simple practice and it really helps to change who you choose in a romantic life. I will leave you with this. Intensity is not intimacy. Chasing is not loving. And calm is not boring. You can train your body to recognize steady care as attractive. It starts by seeing your pattern, choosing small opposite actions, and letting your nervous system learn that safety and desire can live in the same place. If any of these resonated, I would love to hear your story. Please write a message on this video, or you can send it on Instagram and tell me which pattern you recognize it from the ones I mentioned, or what topic you would like me to cover.